Hey there, Field Guys listeners. Bill Michaelek here. Welcome to part 2 of our chat with naturalist Sandy Geffner. If you missed part 1, what are you doing? Go back and fill your earbuds with that first part so you know Sandy's backstory. Then get back here for the main event, a walk in the woods with the Geff. The first time Steve and I did it, back in our respective undergrad days, it was a life-changing experience for both of us. We hope you'll find this walk with Sandy equally enchanting. Enjoy.
By the way, there are some interesting species assemblages here, because of course you have the maples, but I also saw there's like oaks in here. On the edge, was there chestnut?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. As we entered this place, we passed by an American chestnut.
Young, right?
Yes.
Yes.
A young one, right at the entrance. I noticed them too.
I'd never noticed that before, all the times I've been here.
Yes, yes. And of course, as we know, the American chestnuts by the 1950s were all but gone from our forests. And those chestnuts were a very important component of our northern hardwood forests.
Right.
They
A
made
huge
up
food tree, too.
an important food tree. They made up, actually, 1 out of every 4 trees in the northern hardwood forest, especially as you headed south into the oak hickory forests along the Appalachian area.
And now you're lucky if you find one.
Right.
Or
Yes,
you know.
the chestnut blight had literally wiped them out. But really, since the 70s, the American Chestnut Society has been very busy in finding resistant chestnuts, creating resistant chestnuts, planting new chestnuts. And here, right in Erie County, of course, we have Chestnut Ridge Park, and they've done a lot of plantings in there to try to reestablish chestnuts.
Oh, I live really close to Chestnut Ridge, but I haven't looked for those yet. So
Yeah, usually when we find chestnuts in our neighborhood, they're Chinese chestnuts. And I have found them here and there throughout western New York. Low-growing, multi-trunked, as opposed to tall and single-trunked.
And a shout out to the audience, shout out to our chestnut episode that we did with Eric Danielson. He did a whole episode with us on the American chestnut, the history, and kind of where things are headed in terms of research. So that was a 2-parter, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Check that out, folks, if you're interested to learn more about the American chestnut.
Do we want to cross over?
All right.
Cool.
So, folks, we've just left the shade of the plantation, the transitioning plantation, and now we are crossing the baseball field. It's kind of a big open area. All right, folks, so we've crossed the mowed area of the park, left behind the plantations, and now we're entering more of the hardwood area of the forest.
Well, you know, as you stand in this area, you can appreciate how different everything is in here. You know, in the plantation, very shady. What we call the leaf area index is very high in a conifer forest, which means the sun is blocked out tremendously. Leaf area index is focused upon the amount of light that shines on a specific area of the ground. And when that leaf area index is high, that means the leaves are very tight and they block the sun.
Were we hearing cicadas before? Or
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It just seemed,
They're there.
for some
Yeah.
reason, it just is jumping out to me now.
Yeah. Not the periodical cicadas, folks. So these aren't the ones that are under the ground for 17 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in this forest, what's really special about the northern hardwood forest in our area, well, at least in my mind, are 3 things. Number 1, we have the incredible colors of fall, which attracts people from all over the world. You know, basically the only other part of the world that you see that kind of color is in East Asia. So you can go to Japan at the right time of the year and think you're in New England.
They have a lot of maples there.
Yes, they do. Not ours,
Right.
but theirs. Number 2, in this forest, we have the wonders of the spring ephemerals. So usually beginning in later March and through April, you have these wildflowers in the forest that go through their entire life cycle within 40 or 50 days. They have to do that before the canopy is established and the shade is dominant. And so you have incredible plants. And I know I've taken walks with Bill here in the early spring, looking at spring ephemerals, looking at trout lilies and spring beauties and squirrel corn and Dutchman's breeches and these incredible flowering plants. So the spring ephemerals, very, very special to the northern hardwood forest. And if you don't get out at that time of the year, you never see them in your life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even now, we're out here in late July, and most of the evidence of the spring ephemerals is gone.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. And thirdly, really is the character of this northern hardwood forest, which, as we mentioned before, is dominated by 4 different tree species: sugar maple, American beech, yellow birch, and eastern hemlock. And those 4 are dominant in our area because, fellas, they are the most shade
tolerant. There we go.
They are the most shade tolerant and the most long-lived. And as a result, they make up the largest percentage of the canopy.
I feel like we just really let you down.
No, you didn't let me down at all. It's hard to pull those things out sometimes unless you live with them every day, right? And then, of course, in the forest, you have others that we call associates that are less productive, like white ash and black cherry and red maple and American basswood. But this is the structure of the forest. So these are 3 very unique characteristics of the northern hardwood forest: the beautiful colors, the spring ephemerals, and the dominant species. And then as we spend time in here, we get to know the individuals that live here, both the herbaceous plants, the woody plants, the animals associated with them. And in doing so, those little pictures give us a sense, a much clearer sense, for the bigger picture, which is the system as a whole. So as naturalists, that's our job. We tell stories, we share little pictures, we share big pictures, and that gives people a sense of place. And when you have a sense of place, you have a better idea of how you fit into that place.
You know, something that our audience also appreciates is every now and then we'll give, like, reading recommendations or book recommendations. I couldn't help but when we were talking about the North Forests, I think I have the author right, but I couldn't help but think about fond memories I had from reading, I think it's called The North Woods by Peter Merchand. I think that was the book. Really good book for that, for learning more about those processes of the higher elevation, the thinner soils. It's a really good book. And I know we've talked a lot about Eastman. And I know you've told Sandy that we've talked about Eastman.
Yes.
And that's how I know that you know about Eastman. And
yes,
you've known about
Eastman. I love his books.
Yes.
I love his books.
They were out of print for a while. I don't remember if they're still in print now, but...
Well, I actually discovered them because of an internship that I got through you. My internship with Parks and Rec. They let me look around their library, and one of the books popped out to me, and I was like... I started reading it, and then I realized there were 6 of them, and I had to get all 6, and now they're just,
I think I've told the story on the podcast before, way back in the 90s, early 2000s. I had the Eastman books, and I was talking to you about it. And you said something to the effect of, Bill, don't tell too many people about those books. Those are the books that we use.
Did I really say that?
I think so. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but I've told that story many times.
I will say they're a little drier. Like, unless because when I use them after a sighting, and I'm like, oh, I want to read more about that specifically. I'm not like just reading the book,
Oh, right, yeah,
like,
they're not a book that you just flip through. Right. Like, it's not a narrative or anything.
Those books are rich in stories, and I actually share them with my university classes.
Good.
Yeah. So maybe I was immature back then.
Or making a joke that went over your head or
probably.
something.
But they are terrific books, and the stories are just wonderful. Mm-hmm. And everything about us is filling your pockets with stories. I'll often, if I'm asked, what is a naturalist? A naturalist is someone you can pick up and put down anywhere, and that person can just start telling you stories about what they see. That's what a naturalist does. Stories with heart. That's what it's about.
So besides the Eastman books, like if someone wanted to have like a naturalist bookshelf, what's a book that you would say needs to be part of that? I know,
and in this scenario, you can only pick one book. The other books you have to destroy.
Well, for me, one of the classics that I've always loved is from the author we mentioned earlier, Aldo Leopold, A Sand County Almanac. But now I also love books more recently by, for instance, Suzanne Simard.
I don't know her.
In Search of the Mother Tree.
Oh, okay.
I've heard the title before. Yeah.
I think I'm remembering the title wrong. Look it up for us, Bill.
Yeah.
And it's all about the ways in which trees not only communicate with one another, but support one another in the forest.
No, you were right.
Through their root systems.
Finding the Mother Tree.
There it is.
Okay.
Finding the Mother Tree by Suzanne Simard. Love that book. So at one end you have Aldo sharing a new philosophy of perceiving, and at the other end you have the new science that is just broadening our understandings of how trees live, survive, and communicate with one another.
And I do have to say, it might have been when I took your field ecology class. I don't know if you recommended it or someone else recommended it, but when I was in college, I tried to read Sand County Almanac. And at that time, I wasn't ready for it. To me, it seemed dry, but came back to it for whatever reason, maybe 10 years later after I'd been working as an interpretive naturalist for a while. And it was like a completely different book to me. It was the same book, but I was a very different person, and I was able to delve into it. So, when I'm talking to kids in my wilderness class at UB, I shouldn't say kids, young adults, I talk to them about Leopold, and I encourage them to read Sand County Almanac, but I give them that little pointer that if you're picking it up now and trying to read it now and it doesn't speak to you, give it time. Because sometimes I feel books, you can't necessarily pick them up at any time and connect with them.
Okay. Those are interesting, fellas. Do you remember seeing those with me, Bill?
Oh, the growths on the tree.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember seeing those?
I do. They were some kind of bacteria, right, that caused it?
Those are galls. It's caused by a fungus.
Okay.
A phomopsis, woody phomopsis fungus. Galls are generally these abnormal growths, right, on our roots, stems, leaves of plants, and they're most often caused by insects or mites, but can also be caused by bacteria and fungus and even nematodes, microscopic little worms. This one is caused by a fungus, and this is actually one of the few that can be really damaging. Usually most galls are not damaging, but you can see how large they are, how woody they are, and they can cut off the vascular tissues. So this particular kind of gall caused by this species of fungus can be a little rough. And can you see what kind of tree it's growing on?
It's on a hickory.
It's on a hickory. This is a bitternut hickory. And you can see as you go up the branches, more of them growing.
So folks, we have a large hickory, and then, well, I should say larger, it's maybe about 8 to 10 inches in diameter, and next to it there's one that's just a couple inches wide. The smaller one, the trunk is littered with these growths that look like tumors. Some of them are even wider than the trunk itself almost.
Yeah.
But then the larger tree right next to it, we can see smaller growth, smaller galls on some of the branches sticking out. So not just the younger tree, but the older tree as well. They're both infected.
Yeah, that's kind of an unusual gall. We don't usually find too many of these fungus-related galls. Most like the ones we see right in front of us here.
Oh, yeah.
On the goldenrod, right? The goldenrod ball gall, which looks like an onion on the stem. This one's caused by a fly called the peacock fly. And again, the galls form usually as a result of an irritation, a chemical reaction. Sometimes it's when eggs are laid, other times when little guys start feeding, but there's a chemical reaction that causes that abnormal growth form. And in galls, they can take all sorts of shapes, usually smaller, many different shapes.
Our very first episode that we did almost 10 years ago, 15 years ago? 10 years ago.
2015.
Was on goldenrod gulls.
Goldenrod gulls.
Yeah.
I used to have a friend who taught with me in the field, and he would love to take kids to these galls, and then he would open them up and show them the little white wormy guy inside, and then he would eat them.
Oh.
So he loved that shock teaching method.
Are you going to do that for us?
No. No. And
Steve will eat it.
so,
No?
I kind of let them be. And during the winter, they're a very important source of food for woodpeckers and chickadees. Yeah, so when you look at those onion-shaped structures, if the hole is wider on the outside, somebody went in and had a snack. If it's nice and smooth on the outside, the little fly exited and flew around.
Started the whole thing all over again.
All over again. So, a gall lesson is around us. And as we go into the woods, we'll see burls, which are somewhat similar. But if we find one, we can talk about their differences.
All right.
This could be a 5-hour episode. That's what I think. Now, we talked with Sandy Geffner. We made it into 5 episodes. I just don't want it to end.
How long has it been since you've taken a walk with Sandy?
I mean, it's been a long time. The last time we ran into each other was in Florida. We were trying to get eaten by alligators down there.
Crocodiles.
Both. We've been trying to get eaten by both.
Fellas, look at this maple tree in front of you.
Oh, wow.
We got a big maple in front of us. folks.
Just as Bill said earlier, there are some beautiful old growth maples in here. These are sugar maples. And in this part of the forest, it's dominated by sugar maple. Actually, there are other parts of this forest that are dominated by the American beech. So sometimes they grow together, mixed in. Sometimes they grow separately. We see them in both ways.
Yeah. I see some young ones down there.
But that's a beautiful old sugar maple. And there are quite a lot of them in here. They're pretty spectacular.
Makes you wonder how old that one is.
All we can do is actually guess.
Yeah.
What would your guesses be, fellas?
To be honest, I forgot their longevity. I forgot how long, what's the range I'm looking at?
Sugar maples can live, with the big 4, sugar maples and beech, 300 to 400 years.
Oh, wow.
Yellow birch, up to 300. Eastern hemlock, anywhere from 600 to 1,000. So they're very, very long-lived.
You have to imagine this is one of the older ones in the forest, right? Because
there are bigger ones. I could show you bigger ones. But what would your guess be? Because I have a guess as I look at this.
Man, mine feels so random, but I'm going to say over 200. Just because how big it is, because I feel like I've seen people say, I bet this tree is about 150 years old, and this is much bigger than trees like that. So
I'm looking at several different things. One, it's, what would you say, about 3 feet in diameter?
Close to it.
Yeah. And then we do not have any low branches. Like there are no major limbs within 20, 30 feet. And then we also, down at the base, we have some buttressed roots. So all signs pointing to an old tree. So I'd say at least 150. That's a conservative.
And it has that, what's it called when when on really large old trees, the bark looks different.
Oh, yeah,
near the
you just
base.
get unique bark patterns.
They
Yeah.
get balding on sugar maples.
Like old men.
Like old men.
A young man.
Yeah.
Well, if you can call me young still, but
No, I mean, if you had to ask me, I would have said 180 to about 220, somewhere in there.
wow,
But
we're not far
again,
off from each other.
No, it's an educated guess.
Right.
And I, for one, am leery about coring trees like this
Yeah.
because it does make them susceptible to invasion,
Right.
either by insect or fungus.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we in the past have done forestry work, and we did quite a lot of it for Erie County at one point, we would never core really old trees for that very reason.
If you don't need to know.
If you don't need to, no, you can just kind of guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a big, beautiful sugar maple.
You know, I never see basswood around, or rarely, but we have some in the neighborhood. I mean, that is a basswood leaf, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I see maybe that's a basswood over there. I just feel like maybe I don't spend as much time as I used to anymore.
They're here. I mean, they're in the woods.
They are here, and when you find concentrations of basswood and white ash in particular, you're probably looking at a different type of designation for a forest. We can probably look at that system as what we call a rich northern hardwood forest. And the soils are enriched either as a result of downslope flow or bedrock near the surface, because they do indicate very rich soils. And there is another designation as a result. So if you come upon areas with lots of white ash and basswood, you know that those nutrients are abundant in that particular area. Jack in the Pulpit, blue cohosh, they also indicate the same, as a number of others do as well.
And those are herbaceous plants, folks.
Those are herbaceous, are correct. Okay, let's head down this trail a little.
Yeah.
The reason I want to take you here is because there are some unusual ferns I want you to see.
All right.
Oh, cool.
Sandy loves ferns.
I love ferns. Bill, this is a good one for you to share because this is a fascinating story.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at white snakeroot here, and Bill has that story in his pocket.
How did you know that?
Go.
So this is a plant that ties to Abraham Lincoln, right?
It does.
Yeah, so Abraham Lincoln's mother, she passed away from milk poisoning. And it's believed that it was this plant. At the time, many people in certain areas of the country were succumbing to milk poisoning. They were dying. Nobody was really sure why. But it was a doctor, a female doctor, who, through talking to Native Americans in the area, made the connection between this plant and the fact that cows were grazing on this plant, and then poison was getting into the milk. And that was causing the death of many people, one of them being Abraham Lincoln's mother.
That's right.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's right. It would, when it killed people, it was called milk sickness. When it killed livestock, it was called the trembles.
That's right, yeah.
Trembles. We call the poison trematol now. And it basically, do you remember what it does?
No.
It prevents the body's elimination of lactic acid. And the body acidifies. And in doing so, person's breath smells like turpentine, and they become extremely lethargic. And if they ate enough, they will die. And otherwise, they become bedridden. If they can make it through, and then that's great, and then overexert themselves, they could then die. It's a very, very harsh disease.
Yeah.
But, people learned, and Dr. Pierce was her name. Dr. Pierce. And just to be a woman doctor at that period of time was unusual. And it was between this plant and poison ivy. It came down to those two as the cause of milk sickness.
Wow.
And it was finally figured out that this is the one. So don't eat white snake root, okay? Very dangerous.
By the way, in just this little patch, we're seeing some cool species still. I mean, kind of out of nowhere, we have the jewelweed, as Sandy just mentioned, to keep a lookout for. We also have Jack in the Pulpit. Cohosh over there.
Blue cohosh.
In seed.
What's this one? When we go down to Allegheny, I usually see it.
Solomon seal?
There's a whole group that look kind of similar, and I never know if it's Solomons, false Solomons. Isn't there a twisted stalk? That was another one that's similar.
They all look very similar.
Kind of a nice little patch here.
And then we have some garlic mustard trying to get established.
Oh, of course we have to talk about garlic mustard.
And there's a indigo bunting.
Nah, I'm rusty.
I always go by the first two. It goes that, and then that. Right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Must like the field right on the edge there. Because that's what they like. It's a beautiful bird. Now down at the bottom, right here, there are a couple of pretty unique ferns. We're passing evergreen wood fern. We've passed the lady fern, the sensitive fern. And right at this corner, we have two other ferns, not nearly as common as the others. There's one here on the left, which used to be called the silvery spleenwort. And they have some very interesting spore on the underside that look a bit horseshoe-like. They're very pretty.
So they don't have a separate fertile frond. Folks, their spores are underneath.
Right. So we have silvery spleenwort, and this is the really unusual one here. Narrow-leaved glades fern. I always learned it as narrow-leaved spleenwort. And this is an unusual one. I've just found this one a handful of times here in western New York. But these guys are right next to each other. Silvery spleenwort and the narrow-leaved spleenwort or glades fern. And you can see there's lots of light still coming down. You know? Kind of dappled light that makes it down. But as we get further into the woods and the canopy becomes tighter, you're going to have much less growth in the understory here. It's a beautiful forest, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Tons of ferns over there, too.
Tons of ferns. And a lot of those, from what I can see here, are the hay-scented fern. Very long and tall. And they're in here as well.
That's one of the ones that's not protected in New York State, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So in New York, there are 3 ferns that are not protected by law on public lands. Sensitive, hay-scented.
Let me think. It's on the tip of my tongue.
And all of these are very, very common, obviously.
Yeah.
Bracken.
You got it.
Bracken.
You got it.
Say some people might know sensitive as ball because the
Fertile frond?
Yeah, the fertile frond.
I know another name.
It's like I don't know. I thought I've heard another
Their
name for it.
spore are bead-like on separate stalks.
Maybe bead fern. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. I'm sure sensitive fern is what everyone knows. Yeah.
So this is a lovely place to look at a real nice diversity of fern.
Oh, those are some big leaves over there.
On the ground?
Those are
Is that a cucumber?
cucumber. That's what I was wondering. Cucumber magnolia, maybe.
No.
Metal.
Oh no. What?
I think
that?
this is...
Do you think it's false then?
That's right. Feel the squareness of the stem.
Yeah.
Does it feel squared?
I mean, it has kind of a ridge-ish.
This is horse bomb.
Yeah, horse
That's
Oh.
right. This is one of the mints. And these would have a kind of yellowish flower. So horse bomb. So in the past, at least, these would be turned into salves to relieve pain in horses. You know, that's what a horse bomb is. And scattered we have some geraniums, some herb Robert all around us.
I think I like this one's scientific name. Actually, maybe even because of Sandy.
Oh, yes.
The Liriodendron tulipifera. Yeah.
It has a lovely cadence to it. Liriodendron tulipifera. the beautiful tulip tree.
Yeah.
Another one of our associates in this neighborhood.
So Sandy, something that I'm curious if you know. So the jewelweed, what's your take on why it's called jewelweed?
My take?
Yeah. Like, what
My
have you
take
heard?
simply is when you're looking at a jewelweed as we are now, and you take a little bit of water, which is what I'm doing right now, and you just drop it on the plants.
Oh.
The leaves have tiny little hairs on them.
The way the water rolls off, it looks hydrophobic.
Yeah,
Yep.
the water rolls off, but if I could keep water on there, it makes a little silver jewel. Can you see?
You know, I've heard people talk about it before, but I'm so glad you actually... See, this is the educator in you.
Right.
I've heard this said before, but I've never actually seen it happen.
So do you remember, though, what we discovered when we did the episode on jewelweed about the seeds?
No.
So maybe we're going to teach you something you can share when the pods emerge in the late summer, early fall, especially when they're a little older and you pop the seed pods on the jewelweed and the seeds have turned brown. If you scrape off the outer coating, the seed inside is bright blue. That's what some people say is the jewel. Like, it's startling. You scrape off the outside and it's just this bright blue color. It's like a sky blue color. I think we might have even used that as the picture for the episode.
I think we did it.
Because in researching the episode, someone mentioned that, and I'm like, what? I've never even seen that before. And I went out in my backyard and did it. I'm like, holy cow, look at that. So, yeah.
That is fascinating.
Yeah,
And
it's amazing.
yeah, this I did not know.
Well, there you go.
And of course, that's where the name Touch Me Not comes from. You know, the fact that when you hit the edge of that ripe seed pod, it explodes. You have mechanical dispersion of the seed. And the reason why that's so important is because this is one of the few annual herbaceous plants we have in the forest. You know, that's a hard way to make a living if you're an annual. You go through your life cycle in 1 year and boom, set seed and you're dead.
Yeah.
And you have to depend upon that seed to continue your kind. But they make sure of it by projecting that seed such distances from the plant. And they also have very special flowers. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term cleistogamous. Cleistogamous flowers mean flowers at the base of the plant that don't open and self-pollinate.
There's some violets that do that too.
That's correct.
Yeah.
There are a number of plants that have that ability, and that's to ensure adequate seed production.
Gotta be important for an annual, you know?
Absolutely. So
I knew the word, but I'd forgotten what it meant.
No, yeah. When I heard it, it didn't click until he started to explain it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of jewelweed, but it's flagging a lot. I think it's a dry summer right now.
It has been very dry.
That particular area is on the downslope, you see, and it generally stays quite wet. That's why some of those moist-loving plants can exist in that neighborhood.
Now this one must be the cucumber magnolia, right? Another
That's correct.
close relative of the tulip tree.
Way to go, Steve.
Woohoo! Finally found one that wasn't,
So we
horse
have
bomb.
2 trees in our neighborhood that are in Magnoliaceae, the magnolia family. The tulip tree and the cucumber.
Very
Sometimes
early.
called the cucumber magnolia. Yeah.
Very early branching for flowering plants. So
I have to tell you this story. It's a funny story. I was sitting on my porch. I do live in the woods in a nice little log cabin, and I like to just sit on the porch and listen, watch in the evening. And I'm listening, and I hear these thuds in the woods, not far in. And thud after thud. And I'm saying to myself, all right, we can figure out what that is, because it's something heavy that is obviously dropping from a tree. If it's dropping from a tree on a regular basis like that, it's got to be Mr. Squirrel who's doing it. And then what is large enough to make that kind of sound? And I'm thinking, the only thing I could think of in my woods that produces a fruit heavy enough to make thuds like that is a cucumber tree. So, with that in mind, I leave the porch and I walk out into the woods, and the thud is getting louder, and then bam, I nearly get hit in the head with a cucumber fruit. And there's the red squirrel up in the tree, dropping them down so that he can then collect them. And that's my cucumber story. It's fun being a detective.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what being a naturalist is about. Learning continually. And I'll tell you, I've been doing this now professionally for 50 years. And every time I walk in the woods, I find things I don't know or understand. That's the beauty of it. If you're a naturalist and you're not humble, then you're a foolish person indeed. Because we know so little about how this world really works. And we spend a lifetime, people like us, trying to figure it out. And we get glimpses. We have a sense. We have an understanding for the individuals, for some of their relationships. But it is certainly just a glimpse. We're like children in the forest. And something interesting also that comes to mind is that, when Europeans first came over here, look at this beautiful old forest. They would encounter trees with 3 to 6 foot diameters. Lateral branches don't appear until 75 feet up. These forests were dark, somber, mysterious, scary. That's how the Europeans saw them. I remember reading in a very old book this line, no one lamented the disappearance of the picturesque forest, since there were altogether too many trees for comfort. And I'll never forget that sentence, because, of course, to the native people, this was home, this was nourishment, this was family. To the Europeans, this was a frightening place. Mm-hmm. So the quicker you can clear it to make room for your farm, the better.
It was the yardstick of success, right?
It was indeed. But such different perspectives.
Was it Leopold that basically saying, like, we have to protect these forests within North America because we don't want them to turn into, like, the dead forests of Germany? Or was that him who made that comparison?
Well, he definitely studied the forests in Germany. But he did say that we had to preserve wildlands here in America because it provided us what he called the base datum of normalcy. Like, if we want to see what a healthy system looks like, we need to preserve the healthy systems we have, because otherwise you're like a doctor trying to figure out what's healthy just looking at sick patients.
I wonder what Leopold would think today. Let's not think about that.
Well, this is a great place to stop with what Sandy just said. I think that's a good wrap up, because I'm sorry I have to go, but I wish we could spend a lot more time in the woods with you, and I'm sure our audience does as well. But Sandy, I can't thank you enough for not just being with us here today, but for everything that you do. As we said at the beginning, I don't think Steve and I would be the people we are if not for you. So
no, I don't think so.
You have our gratitude.
Well, it's been my pleasure, fellas. It's always my pleasure to take a walk in the woods with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'd love to have you on again sometime.
And hopefully, unless you retire or something very soon, which you could, no pressure, but hopefully maybe you see my kid sometime soon on an Earth Spirit walk. I have a little 2-year-old, so he's getting up there, almost ready to go on walks, but he's not there yet. He would be distracting, I'm sure. And
well, I'll look forward to that when it happens.
All right, thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we are here to do this episode's wrap-up. And since Steve is up to his armpits in toddlers at home, he is not here. So Violet is here not just to read our top patrons, but also to share wrap-up duties with me today. Say hi, Violet.
Hi.
All right, so first and foremost, we'd like to thank our growing list of Patreon supporters. So thank you to our newest patrons, Licky Weeks and Lori B. We also like to give a special shout-out each month to our top patrons, so stick around for just a minute and hear Violet read that list. And if you'd like to support the podcast, consider becoming a patron of our show at patreon.com, or you can make a one-time donation through PayPal on our website. A big thank you to Thomas W. for his extremely generous donation this month, and to Wendy S. for hers as well. Thank you both.
And you can always help out by sharing the podcast with friends and family, and by subscribing and leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts. It helps spread the word and allows us to reach a wider audience. Come enjoy our sporadic posts on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And you can always email us ideas for episode topics, criticisms, or your stories of personal encounters with cool nature people like Sandy to thefieldguides@gmail.com.
And parents, remember to get those kids outside. Let them get muddy. Let them get dirty. Let them flip over rocks and logs. And if you don't have kids, make sure to make some time to get yourself outside. And here is Violet with our top patrons.
Eric, Alyssa, Adam, Mary, Colin G, Dr. Judy, Kimberly B, Peter R, Callie, Rich K, the Hebranks, Orange Julianne, Rachel L, the Drunk Phytologist, Daniel M, Diane, we named the dog Indy, Hot Dog Cold Weather, Dwayne H, Jennifer D, Jonathan A, Michaela, Vale, Andy W, Elizabeth P, Picasso 3, John R, Evan, Mark T, Cecilia, Julie B, Dennis, Chris N, Sung, Jeff S, Jonathan K, Matt E, Plants in My Pants, Ryan R, Sophie S, Connor H, Measure and Principal, Fragaria pepaloinoidea, Outside Chronicles, Andrew C, Quixote, Max D, Melissa Marie in Dusty, Arizona, Kelly S, Sarah S, Helen A, Judy F, Ben C, Jane H, Doodle Dude 82, Gail and Mac, Kazis, Jeff S, Esther C, John W, Mark V, Bethany H, Rob M, Holly M, Catherine W, Virginia.
Way to go.
Thank you.
You did the whole thing without one mistake.
That was a lot.
Thank you, patrons. On behalf of Steve, we appreciate your support. And lastly, Maureen from California. I knew I said in this episode that we would be talking about the email you sent, but I do want Steve to be here for that. So we're going to try to fit that in next time. So thank you for reaching out, and everyone, we will see you next time.
Goodbye.